Welcome to the first virtual museum of the glories of Russian sports. Our museum will acquaint you with the history of the development of indigenous sports and will remind you of the dazzling victories of Soviet and Russian Olympic athletes. You will be able to examine rare archival materials of the history of sports of our country, digitalized 3D copies of museum exhibits, documents, unique photos, and videos. You can see three-dimensional models of more than 2,100 exhibits in our museum, an absolute record among the sports museums of the world. The museum consists of exhibition halls of the history of winter sports and halls of Olympic glories. It is accessible from all corners of Russia and the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All materials are presented with the support of the Ministry of Sports and the Russian Olympic Committee. The time machine of the virtual museum instantly carries you back to the past to experience historic moments together with the legendary athletes who won more than 300 medals over the past decades. Just as in a real museum, you may choose your own excursion, or you may choose to be helped by a special virtual guide who will show you the most interesting exhibits. Let's glance into the most memorable halls, and we will begin with the Olympic Games of 1956, when, for the first time, athletes of the USSR took part in Winter Games, having secured a victory in the informal team competition. The museum will remind you of the stories of the most brilliant of the country's athletes, such as Vsevolod Bobrov, for example. The great ice confrontation of the Soviet Union and Canada began with the hockey finals of the Olympic Games of 1956. A 3D model of Bobrov's Olympic medal, the hockey sticks with which the USSR national team played in 1956, as well as unique photos and videos, are offered for your consideration. Each hall is devoted to a separate game. From the halls of the Olympic Games, we move over to the halls of winter sports, and we will begin with skiing. The history of the development of cross-country skiing allows us to track the evolution of the equipment, the skis, footwear, bindings, poles, sportswear, and also the improvement in skiing techniques and in the methods of preparation for the sport. You can see the equipment in the hall on which stars such as the ski king Nikolai Zimyatov or the well-known Galina Kulakova, a 4-time Olympic champion, 5-time world champion, and holder of the World Cup, have trained and competed. Let's glance in on the Hall of Figure Skating and recall the history of the development and the heroes of this unusually popular and spectacular sport. In front of you is a rare artifact, the pouch of the first Russian Olympic champion, Nikolai Panin Kolomenkin, who won a gold medal in figure skating at the 4th Olympic Games in London in 1908. The first Russian Olympic medal probably lay in this purse. This priceless collection of exhibits permits us to track the sports histories of many of our heroes, such as, for example, the unrivaled Irina Rodnina, who became the only participant among the figure skaters to win 3 gold medals in pair figure skating. Visitors will find the skates and costumes of the athletes, as well as their medals, photos, and videos, reminding us of these infamous victories. The simple design of the objects have become sophisticated, based entirely on computer models using the rules of ergonomics. This is evident in the biathlon rifle, which, from a conventional military weapon, has turned into a movie prop for a futuristic science fiction movie. The International Biathlon Union, named after Alexander Tikhonov, the finest biathlon athlete of the 20th century. All 4 of his gold medals were won in relay races at 4 different Olympic Games. Let's move on to the hall of our national game, ice hockey. The unique capabilities of our museum will allow you to track how the athletes' equipment and ammunition changed. The team shirt of the legendary Alexander Yakushev, two-time Olympic champion and the forward for the Moscow Spartak team, is on display in the Hall of Hockey, along with numerous other exhibits. In the Hall of Hockey, one may see a hockey stick with the autographs of such great players of the Soviet Union's national team, such as Harlamov, Tretiak, Ragulin, and other players of the illustrious team, as well as that of their coach, Anatoly Tarasov. Our museum is not only a trip into the past. It is directed toward the future. After all, sport is infinite. We will be looking forward to new records being set and new heroes being made. We believe that there will be more and more trophies in our halls of glory because the list of national sports stars has no last page. And the virtual museum can be filled with any quantity of exhibits, and they can be provided from the most varying sources, starting from regional sports schools to the personal archives of the athletes themselves. For the first time, even small, modest halls with the sport history of a small town or a rural school can appear in the museum. Every physical education teacher in any corner of the country will be able to conduct their first lesson on the history of the development of Olympic sports together with their students in the halls of our museum. All the necessary performance capabilities for this have been implemented. The next update of our collection is expected this winter at the home of the Olympic Games in Sochi.